are back at the AAC podcast.
Let's go.
Dude, we
got this one.
It's been a funny thing. This is our third time doing this one because the SD card cut out.
These little guys.
Dude, we've had some really good combos. We're going to recap it. We're going to be talking about hard things and why.
So why? I mean, so I came to you this topic on. I was just thinking about technology as to. I'm happy. I mean, we're talking about AI technology these days of how bad it is. I'm thinking it's actually kind of good. The reason why I have to say it's good is because it's waking people up and it's exposing, you know how easy and how plush our life has been. You know, man or woman. We're living here all cushy, but then now like people are starting to wake up. It doesn't last. It doesn't work long term. You got to learn how to do hard stuff. I mean, these are conversations that I'm having, with a lot of men, and then somewhat with my kids too. But I wish my dad, he actually would have this sit down and speak to me about searching out how to putting yourself not in danger, but more like looking out for the hard things to do, because if you're able to make it through that, if you're able to have solutions and survive, it just makes you better, it makes you stronger, and makes you wiser. Yeah.
One of my good buddies, and you know him, Ted DiBiase Jr.
Mr. Ted.
Yeah. We call it's character building time. And we both have been going through some crazy hard times the last several years. And when we're on the phone, we literally go, you know what? It's character building time. Yeah. And
why does it go on a shirt?
Dude, that does need to go on a shirt. But no, you're right, dude. It exposes straight up. If your character and your integrity, it really comes to light if you have not done a lot of hard things. If things were given to you, or if you ignore, or if you are avoiding, is a good word to use here. Yeah. Hard things in life, because going through the hard things teaches you how to actually get through life in a different manner than if you only did easy things. Like if all you did was easy things, your life is going to be hard. And when you do hard things, your life actually becomes easy. I don't remember who said that quote exactly, but it's so true, because if you're not being battle tested, if you're not, going after the hard stuff, you don't know what you're actually capable of. Yeah. And I think as men especially, and we talked about this about your purpose too in a bit, is if you don't know what your purpose is, but if you don't know if you're capable of doing things, it's almost like you get in this depressed mode because you don't know what your why is and you're not challenging yourself.
Yeah. So I was wanting to bring up this story. It struck me as I was thinking about, this topic of wanting to bring this up. So there's this guy. I mean, first of all, let me ask you this. Have you ever gone door knocking for work?
I did it once,
yeah,
and I got to like the 110th door, and I didn't make a sale, so I stopped.
It's the toughest thing to do. You actually, it's sales, but it's another layer of skin you have to learn to develop. So there's this young guy, and this is what makes me have hope for our future. That I'm at my mother-in-law's house. He knocks on the door. She answers. I think he's like selling pest control. So obviously, my mother-in-law, she already has that taken care of. She's like, no. The guy was like respectful in a way, like, okay, you know what? And then he didn't back off. He didn't back off on the first no. So I'm like, oh, this kid's got something. Like, he has some gumption in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, he asked the questions. It's that whole feel, felt, found. And so he used that. He used that skill. Great. He still didn't get the sale, but I admire him for his staying consistent and being able to push and do it in a respectful way.
Yeah.
But what really impressed me the most, so after that first time, my mother-in-law kind of recognized it, that, he was out knocking doors. It's kind of hot outside. She's one of those like, yeah, I understand you're outside. If you ever feel hot, come by and bring some, we'll fill up your water bottle. And he's like, oh, thanks. He comes back. It might have been the next day or the day after. This kid's still going. And he came back and he knocked on our door, not to sell, but he was getting water. She goes, "You're still at it?" He goes, "Yes, ma'am. I'm not stopping."
Wow.
And so that's the kind of person you want to hire. Someone that's, willing to go through and have so many doors slammed in your face, but keep going.
Yeah, he's doing hard stuff. He is really, I mean, knocking on doors is tough. To that point, he's building character, man. And he's also, when you say like that's a guy you want to hire, it's because he's willing to go do what others aren't willing to do, right? Yeah. Even if he's not making a ton of money, he's building something inside of him to withstand what's going to come later in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I got a good story on that one, actually.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I think I was like 23, 24. Me and my family were building a business and it was starting to take off, right? And I'm like, man, I'm not ready for this. Like, I need to become somebody better. So I was like, I actually naturally was like, I need to do something really freaking hard. So I gave myself an 80-week challenge. And what I did was I said, I'm going to start with 20 push-ups. And every week I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to add one a week and I'm going to go for 80 weeks. All the way down, all the way up, like legit good ones. And I found out like doing this, it really built something in me. So I completed it. Yeah, okay. I completed it. I wanted to quit. I didn't think I would make it around 35, 36 push-ups. And I had to recalibrate my belief system.
You were doing this at what time of the day?
About 7:15, 7:30 in the morning.
Okay, respect. You're getting up early.
Yeah, getting to it, getting that physical, body, and mental ready to go. And so I completed the task. I did it for 80 weeks. And what it did in me is it built this belief system. It really did. I'm like, I just did something for 80 weeks. I didn't take any shortcuts. And physically, it built myself up. I didn't really lift any weights beforehand. And like, I built some muscle on me.
You have a great physique. I mean, we've worked out together. I've seen you in the locker room. So respect to this guy.
Yeah. And thank you. And so mentally, it helped me. Physically, as a man, it made me feel better. And so when people are like, hey, we're going to go do this. And I'm like, well, I can do that. Like, that's only 100 days. I did something for like 500 days straight. And not only did I do it for 500 days straight, I did it for like another 3 years afterwards. So I did this for almost 5 years. And so I built this resilience in me. But what happened is I created a belief system. I believed, and there's something in front of me, a task, that if it's less than like 1,000 days, basically, I'm like, I can do this because I've already done something. And so what happened with it is I did this hard thing and it created this, like, I believe like this neuron system in my brain of a belief system moving forward. Whatever task is in front of me, I know I can achieve it. Now with that, I'm very careful what I say yes to, because I'm one of those people who like, I will make sure I do it. And I understand that when I commit. And so I think a lot of people, they'll just say, hey, like, it's like working out, losing weight.
Yeah.
You got to be careful, because what happens is, and this is scientifically proven, and I don't remember who did it or what, you can look it up. But if you take on a task that's hard and you quit and you do it over and over again, you create a pathway in your brain and a belief system, and you will get into this pattern of failing. But when you accomplish it, you create a winning system. And I want you to talk about this, because I've heard you talk about this. It's stacking wins.
It's stacking wins, 100%.
Break that down, man.
So simply, I mean, I believe, so I was reading the book, with Jordan Peterson on it, and he talks about just, making up your bed.
Yeah.
But stacking wins is easy, simply as, making your bed, getting up and, maybe even getting the right meal you need. Because sometimes we wake up and we're like, okay, I'll just shove this Twinkie in my mouth and let's just go. Really focusing and putting emphasis on your diet too. So that's a win. All it is just stacking wins, because these easily turn. I mean, it starts to build momentum. When you have these momentum of winning, it's contagious. So if you do this, again, waking up at a certain time, getting the right meal, getting a workout in, read, maybe meditate, those are wins for the day that they continue to stack on. Because if you don't, you get up, you kind of do the same thing, and you half-ass it, you're going to have a half-ass day.
And a half-ass life.
So it brings me to that saying. Have you ever heard of this saying called, how you do anything is how you do everything?
I've heard of this, yes.
A great mentor of mine, Tom Ellsworth, he said that either directly to me or one of my meetings, but I took it, whether it was in a meeting, I took it like it was directly to me, because I'm one of those guys where if you let me, I will be lazy. I mean, I love just being able to, just sit on the couch, binge watch. But I've heard this on another podcast with Bedros Keuilian. I feel like the devil lives within me, and so what that meant to me was that I could, if I don't focus on my bettering myself, stacking wins, reading, working out, I will easily fall into the pleasure mode. Eating the foods I shouldn't be eating, going doing things I shouldn't be doing, seeing the things I shouldn't be seeing. I mean, these are constant battles that I fight every day, and I don't think I'll ever stop fighting. I don't think it'll ever go away.
No, I don't think it does.
No,
I think it's interesting. I think that's how God created it. Actually, I think that's part of free will.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go down this for a minute.
This
has been really hitting me lately of how God created us with free will, and I'm like, man, when you really think about it, it gets pretty crazy. And so what I've been thinking on this is we get choices what to do. Okay?
Yeah.
He loves us. We love our kids, right? A father to a father. The father and us as fathers. Put yourself as a father. What is the best way?
I'm already there.
Yeah, I know, me too. But
Go ahead.
What is the best way to teach our kids, like, to build character and how to get things in life? It's actually to get them to go through hard things, to create that character in it. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, like with our choice, we can be praying and we can want all these things. And we've talked about this before. Sometimes the things you ask for, you got to be careful because you're not ready to handle them. Oh. And so
God will punish you by giving you things that you're not ready for.
Yeah. And so think of your kids when you do this too, is they're like, Dad, I really, really want this. But you know that if you give them this one thing, and it could be the silliest little thing, but if they're not ready for it, it will actually destroy them in the long run. And so what happens is they look at you in the sense of betrayal. Okay. Now think of that you're looking at God like that. Like, God, why am I not getting somewhere in life? You told me these things. I heard you. I've been asking for these things. Why are you, like, it feels like you're betraying me. But when you put yourself, you can take a step back as a father and you go, wow, I wonder if certain things aren't happening because he's actually protecting me. And you start looking at this free will at a different thing. Like, we can choose to do things, and the harder things that we do, and I don't remember who said this quote, but it is really good. Like, if God wanted to create someone that's really strong, what would he do? He would give them very hard tasks to accomplish. Okay? And you can do this over and over and over. If he wanted to create someone that had a lot of wisdom, what would he do? He'd put them in challenging positions to make tough choices. He'd be
he'd be putting you in positions that create pressure,
that create things. And so I think that's the beautiful part of choosing hard things in life, is it creates something in you that can't be bought. You can't buy it. And it's the same thing with your body. You can't buy a physique body. You have to go earn it. And so what I really like, what you talked about, how today it's really exposing people, is if you're not doing hard things, it catches up with you, I think, really, really quick.
Yeah.
You're getting exposed.
It's a short fix. It's like, just like, again, it's putting a Band-Aid on it without actually mending the wound. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally get that.
So the one thing that, respect to your 5-year, I think, when did you stop doing the 100 push-ups?
It was almost 5 years I did it. And then I actually was adding another session of a separate 100 along the way.
Okay.
I did wides for 100 and then it got to military. So I was doing 200 a day nonstop.
So the one thing that helps me, get over this is, what saved my life was working out. I mean, I was in the fitness industry, got to working out, was working at, I was working at an auto shop, and then I just was not happy. And so my buddy, who was a personal trainer, he's got my ass to the gym. We kind of trained a little bit, but then I found a love for it. And it solved a lot of things. Like, it got me to quit smoking. It got me to, really want to learn more and push myself. And I'll tell you, if it wasn't for working out, it wouldn't have created this one product that we're about to come out at All American Canine. Very unique, so watch out for this. We're not going to expose this right now, but
it's coming.
It's coming. But they spark ideas. I tell everyone, like, if you're in a funk, you gotta go on a walk and get your heart rate up and it will release the serotonins in your body to be able to come up with new ideas. And so, back to physical fitness, that, it actually saved my life, and then brought on to all kinds of things. Without it too, I really wouldn't have met my wife either.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's a good story. If you went and didn't go do the hard things, you wouldn't have met your wife.
Yes. Because I'm that kind of guy. I will easily fall into being lazy, kind of giving into my weaknesses, my vices.
Dude, it's so funny. Like, I'm not the most at this, but I say this, like, I'm like one of the most disciplined, lazy people I know. I am like,
at some level it makes sense to me, but how do you define that really?
It's because I actually don't really want to go do the things that I do. Mm-hmm. I really don't, but I'm disciplined because there's things I want to go get in life, and I know that I have to be disciplined to get them. Like, I look at people and I go, like we'll just use the gym for an example. Yeah. I love it when I'm there. I do not like trying to get there. I really hate it. I really don't. But when I'm there, I'm like, I'm all good, right? But there's people who will wake up and they're like, I can't wait to get to the gym. I am not wired that way. But I'm in the gym 3-4 days a week minimum. Okay? I am. I don't want to be there. I really don't. But once I'm there, oh my gosh. So that's what I mean by, like, I'm disciplined, but I'm really lazy. Yeah. And so when I set a goal, I go get it. I actually got a really funny story to tell you on this. Yeah. It goes back to, so you know how I did the push-up thing?
Yes.
Okay, you ever, 75 hard?
Of course.
Okay,
yeah.
So have you ever done it?
I mean, it's not my favorite thing for a lot of new people, but you got to go through some hard stuff. But
have you done it?
I get the point of it. No, I have not done it.
Okay, so there's a story behind this. Is I never even heard of it. I had a couple friends ask me about it, and I kind of looked at it, and I'm like, oh, hell no. I don't want to do this. This looks really freaking hard. And I'm like, you know what this is going to take is, I'm like, you got to work out 2 times. One's got to be outside. You got to drink the water. You got to set this diet. And I'm like, for 75 days, because I've done something for like 500. So I'm like, I know what it takes. And I'm like, this is even beyond what I did. I was just doing, it took me 5 minutes a day to do what I was doing. Yeah. That's pretty easy, 3 times a week. This is every day for 75 days straight. And it's basically, I'm going to spend a couple hours doing all this stuff. So I was
you're
like,
splitting your days too. Oh. I heard you got to work out, normal, and then you also have to do a workout that's outside.
Yeah. And you got some other things you got to do. So there's a group of people that invited me in to do this. And you know what my first response was? When I said, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Because I'm like, this is a commitment. And so when I make a commitment, I have to do it. And so there was like 6 of us, right? And the last day before they're going to start, like, come on, man, you can join us. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, I knew this going into it. I'm like, ain't no one of them going to finish this. And I didn't say this to them, but I'm like, there ain't no way they're going to do this. 7 days in, the other 6 were out. I got 1 week in and I got to finish the whole damn thing by myself.
All by yourself?
All by myself.
Oh, man. Okay.
But I did it.
You did it.
I did it. But my first initial reaction, and this is where I'm getting at this, is because I understood how hard it really was going to be. And I don't think these other 6 people did. The thing is, they want it.
But they're not willing to understand the hardship that comes with it, which is also why, when you and I started working out too, that when I told you we're going to work out together, I told you this, that I was going to see how you were doing, showing up all the time. And then also at the same time too, I knew you were testing me, how committed I was too. So when we were working out together, we made sure I made sure I was there, because I did not want to be that partner coming into this business that we're growing, that we're developing together. Yeah. Making you feel like, I don't want you to feel like you're having having second thoughts of wanting to work with me. And that's the part that I was like, yeah, I'm going to make sure I'm there. But this is also me seeing how committed you are, and you were there every day. Yeah.
I mean, this is the one thing that I can say about that I've learned is when you say something, your word should be your bond. And so if you're going to be there at 8 a.m, you got to be there. Now, things happen. Apologize. Didn't work, traffic, whatever. But at the end of the day, when you commit, you got to commit. And so that was that thing I learned at 75 Hard is you really find out what people, when they say something, if they're going to follow through. And it does tell you something about who you want to do life and business with. Because if you can't do the hard things like that, now don't get me wrong, these people, they kick ass in business. They really do. They're actually been very successful. Yeah. There's just certain things in life though that when someone says something to me and they can't follow through, it tells me something about them. It doesn't mean you won't be successful, but it's like, who do you want in your corner, right? Who, like, this is something, someone told me this today too, actually. Like, if the people you're hanging out with don't inspire you, you're in a cage. You're not like in a circle. You're actually in this cage. You're looking at it from a perspective. So like, you got to be careful who you're spending time with, because that cage, you don't even see it sometimes until it's too late.
Yeah.
And so like, I was thinking about that and I was like, yeah, it's not even inspiration, but it's also like, are you challenging me? Are we leveling up together? Are we doing hard things together? Are we going through the fire together? And if you take a step back and you can take 30 minutes and go back into your relationships and go, why is this person not in my life anymore? And I can almost guarantee you it's because you actually didn't go through the fire with people and made it out on the other side because you couldn't work things out, and they didn't stick with you in a way from a loyalty standpoint, or you're going on a different path in life than they are because you're willing to sacrifice what they're not.
Yeah.
It's really amazing when you do that exercise and you go through these relationships, why they're not in your life anymore.
But I also want to say that the people that are not with you is because, you know what, I don't fault them for them too much, because it helps me eliminate who actually see this as a purpose.
That's good.
And that's where purpose driven, if you're not going out there finding a level of purpose, there's nothing that's going to drive you. You got to find something that like really pushes you. So a purpose, and also a level of, anger. I think too, you got to be able to tap into that anger of like, I do not want to go back to who I was. I mean, I get upset every year. I mean, I get upset. Let me rephrase that. I will be upset if every year I end up staying in the same position as I was when I started the year. So
I got a good one on that.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So with this, because the last thing I want to do is, be average, saying, okay, great. It was another decent year, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm like, how much have I grown? I mean, I do these, we started doing these, what was it, the vision boards there.
Mm-hmm.
And the visions, I do a check on, have I checked off certain things? And if, obviously the vision boards, hardly anyone actually hits everything on their vision board. But if you hit 10%, even 5%, that's a good year.
You're stacking wins, man.
You're stacking wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, there's this saying, and I absolutely love it. And it goes something like this. And it's funny, I don't know who says a lot of these sayings, I've noticed. But I remember the sayings.
It'd be helpful maybe you bring it next time. Or I'll help you if you think of
it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it for a long time. It just come into my memory right now. But
all good.
It's something like this: this season is personal. It's an apology to myself. I'm going to go get the things that I missed out on the years before. And I love it because you're owning up like, hey, this is an apology to my previous self. I'm not going to do what I did the last few years. I'm going to get disciplined. I'm going to go get it. And so I remember seeing this and I was like, what you just said, it triggered that memory, because I'm like, you can live your life and you look back in 5 years, you didn't get anywhere what you want to go, is because you didn't have a purpose. You weren't driven. You weren't disciplined. And you're just kind of like, you don't want to say you're lazy because you're like, well, I'm working, I'm doing this, but like it shows. It really does show. And this is the exposure, is there is a pathway to go get what you want, and it's going to be really freaking hard, and it takes time. And we were talking about this, I think, with Trevor too. Like, it takes 10 years to be the overnight success usually. So don't judge yourself too hard on the first early years of your going, as long as you know what you're going to go get. Now, and I've done this a lot. I jump around a lot. I'm like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. And then you're resetting. But if you go, you know what, like this right here, All-American Canine, I'm going to go after this for the next decade or 2 decades. Well, it will show.
Yeah.
Okay. It might not show in the first year, maybe not in the second year, but I'm like, in 10 years, this thing's going to be something crazy. And so like, I did something for 7 years and it turned out great. So if you have that purpose-driven life, it stacks. You got to stack those little wins.
I'm curious because is there like a scenario you have to put in your mind to like, do you go to anger or do you go to like the good things you're going after? Are you more driven by the goals, or are you more driven by the people maybe you have to prove wrong, the anger?
It's neither of those. This is interesting.
It's neither.
This is a great question. Oh my God. I don't think I've ever been asked this question.
Well, here you go.
Okay. So the things that drive me are the people in my life that how I look at who I am to people in my life is I look at like, I'm a protector, I'm a pillar, and I'm a provider. And so if I'm not doing my full capacity of who God created me to be, these other people in my life are missing out, and I don't want them to miss out. And so that's what drives me, is if I'm not in my full potential, there's things in life that they're not going to end up getting. Mm-hmm. So when I wake up in the morning, it's not so I can go make money and do this. It's so like my kids or my family and my friends, like they can do things that I really do believe that I can make an impact on. That's what drives me.
Wow.
And man, when I go there, I do feel unstoppable.
I feel like I don't feel that way.
So everybody's built differently.
It's a little different. I don't know if I need to go to therapy for this, but I am very much driven by anger.
Really?
Yes.
Break this down, man.
So I get upset at, I'm looking at, so I'll give you an example. My family has a history of diabetes, being very overweight, being addicted to drugs. And so for me, that was a fear of mine. And I'm like, I kind of put that scenario in my head, like, are you going down that route? So maybe it's a little bit of anger and fear, because I mean, it's in, I guess you can call it in our genetics, where we have an addiction. We can easily fall into an addiction of something. And I don't want to go down that path. And I'm like constantly just making sure, keeping myself in check of, are you making sure you don't go down that route? Are you, if you do, how messed up your life's going to be? Things are going to be taken away from you. I get angry. And so I'm like constantly, so that's why I wake up in the morning. When I wake up in the morning, I get up and, I recently, it's for the past, 9 months, I've been waking up and definitely acknowledging, giving praise to God. Thank you for this breath. Thank you for allowing me to breathe one more day. Thank you for allowing me to spend another time, with my kids, my wife. I don't take any of that for granted. But then I get into my work of like, so Mark Cuban actually said this, almost like work 24 hours a day, work so hard that someone's working 24 hours a day to take it all away from you. And that's what I don't want. So it's something I gotta keep working on. And I like who I am, and I like the things I'm working on. And again, I could easily fall into those vices that I have easily.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. Isn't it really cool how everyone's built so differently?
It's so weird.
It, like, what motivates one does not motivate another person.
Yeah.
Like, one person can rise to the challenge with something happening and it doesn't affect the other, and then the same thing happens and that same person that was motivated in a different situation is unmotivated. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Like, I think
humans are so complicated. It's so crazy.
Yeah. And this is a lot of self-awareness too, is when you're going off and doing hard things too. And this goes back to that 75 hard thing. This is really interesting. I believed every one of them could have done it. Okay. I really do, actually. It was a self-awareness of what you were willing to sacrifice and what motivates you. They didn't go to where they needed to go. I went where I needed to go, because where I went is, if I do this, guess what? I'm better for my community, my family, and my wife and my kids.
Did you do the 75 hard after I think you did mention this, you did this after you've done the certain amount of years or certain amount of months of push-ups, right?
Oh, this is like a decade later. I did this like 3 years ago, 75 hard. Yeah.
So there's a level of preparation that goes into that too. Like you said, I know I've done this. I know I can do this. It's just a different level of tapping into your brain and not letting my brain, take over or kidnap, my body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's preparation.
Hijack. That's what it is.
Hijack. And that's why you got to keep doing things. But I do want to ask you a question on the anger thing. What if you found out, being wired that way, do you think there's a balance of positive negatives, or do you think like one way is the other, or how does that show up?
It almost, I think you have to have the yin and the yang, the dark side and the light side. Like you can't be all anger. Otherwise, you're gonna have some really bad issues. Everyone's gonna feel it throughout the household.
Yeah.
People that are around you. But just recognizing it, but then also understanding the good stuff, like waking, knowing that I have my wife next to me, knowing that my kids are healthy, finding the blessings in the day, and again, being thankful for the hard struggles, saying,
Yeah.
I'm going through this hard times, I'm going through this, and you just tell yourself, good. You got to be able to tell yourself, good, because I'm going to get through this. Pain is temporary, but regret is forever.
Yeah, that's good. That's a tough one. A lot of people live with regret because they don't go out and finish what they said. And that's one thing too. Our words are really powerful. And so it goes back to this, like when you say you're going to go do something and you don't do it, and you do that over and over, when you talked about stacking wins, you're stacking an L. You're stacking a loss mentally. And so the next time you do it, it gets harder. The next time it even gets harder and harder and harder. And eventually you get to this point when you don't believe you can do it because you've built a pattern in your life. And so this is why it's so important to be careful what you say and to not judge yourself either. Like that's why I almost didn't do the 75 hard, because I'm like, I don't want to say I can do it and then quit on it, because it'll create this pattern.
Yeah.
And it'll start this ripple effect. And so you have to be very careful of what you end up saying and what you're going to end up doing. And don't judge yourself based on what other people do. Everyone's wins are different. Your little wins that stack, they need to be based on you and what you're trying to achieve in life and who you are.
Yep.
You don't compare yourself to the next person, because I've been talking to my wife about this too. Comparison is the thief of joy. Mm-hmm. Let me say it one more time. Comparison is the thief of joy. So when you're comparing yourself to other people,
and this is easy. You can easily fall into this with social media today. 100%. Like there's no way you can escape it, but you can learn to, take back your thought process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you are comparing yourself to other people, you're creating self-doubt, jealousy, envy, all these things that are actually, they're like the bad attributes that you end up taking on subconsciously, and it affects you so bad. And so like you go stack your wins. Everyone's not Michael Jordan, and that's good. We don't need everyone to be Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Right? Now everyone in their industry wants to be the top, not everybody, there's certain people that want to be the top, the MJ of their industries, right?
Well, life would be boring.
It'd be boring. If everyone drove a Ferrari.
It's already done. It's already been done. That's why people are always looking to get better.
Yeah. And the thing is what brings joy to everybody is different. And so this is why I wanted to break this down, because the thing that you think that makes you happy because someone else has it, you are not them. So once you try to go get that, you're going to find out that actually doesn't what makes you happy. You're just jealous and envious because they look like they have a better life than you, or they're happier. So you try to go do what they're doing. And then you find out, oh my gosh, I'm created differently. And it didn't actually bring me the happiness that I thought.
Right.
And so you're stealing and robbing yourself of the joy that God created for you individually when you're comparing yourself to others. And that's in this doing hard things. When someone goes and does a huge challenge, don't worry that you actually are like, hey, I can't go do that. Like, I'll use this as an example. I'm not going to go run a marathon right now. Could I do it? Absolutely. But you know what? The amount of work and effort it would take for me to go train for that, and I don't want to do that. And I don't beat myself up because I know other people can go do that are actually probably more out of shape than I am. They're actually like less physically like athletic.
Yeah.
And they go conquer it. And I don't go like, oh my gosh, these guys go it, so I'm going to go do it. And the whole point of that is when I'm saying this is you need to know what you want in life and be okay with that. You really do. Because when you find out who you are and the purpose that you're here for to drive your why, then when you see hard things, they're actually, you embrace it.
Yeah. So I don't see this as we're going to be talking about this one time. I mean, guys, if you see yourself, really passionate about this topic, and you're here in the Dallas Metroplex area or just here in Texas, and you want to be on our show, we'd love to have you. Because if you're passionate about this, love to be able to talk to other people besides just Jaron and myself, and just getting different perspectives, because it's valuable stuff. And just go out and do hard stuff.
Yeah, I would love to hear and bring some people in and hear some stories.
Yeah,
that's where you learn.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon. Jaron, always a pleasure. And
you too, man.
Next time.
Peace out.